The Prince's Trust is a national charity, and the prince in question is, in fact, His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales. He's the founder and the president for this international organization, a charity that delivers impact across this country. It helps through programs. It helps young people overcome barriers to employment, prepare for the changing world of work, and it provides entrepreneurship training and support for veterans. Now, I'm going to declare my bias right up front here because I participate in one of the programs that this organization does. It's the Princess Operation Entrepreneur at the University of Regina. So we're going to talk about all those things. And we have with us Kathleen Kilgour, who I see every summer in Regina. She's the Senior Program Manager at the Prince's Trust Canada, and she's been doing this for 6 years, and I'm telling you, she works like a dog. So we're really glad that you take a few minutes off and talk with us about this as we head into the Christmas season, and I think discovering that people are trying to do the right thing. We can't go out and buy a bunch of stuff. So we want to make our impact another way. Welcome.
Thank you. This is wonderful.
It's great to see you. And we did this Operation Entrepreneur this summer, of course, at Regina, but I only got to participate via Zoom. So
in a little bit of it.
In a little tiny box, in a little tiny one day of it. Why don't we start there? Why don't you talk about that? And we'll get to the other parts of the program.
Sure. Well, we offer a continuum of programming for veterans and their families to start businesses. And the biggest thing, our biggest impact in our longest running program is the boot camps. And we run 4 of them across Canada. And you participate in the one in Regina every year. Every year that I've been doing it, you've been there. So,
I've got to say I get a lot of cred because when I tell people I'm going to boot camp, they actually think I'm doing something
and you don't have to correct
tough.
them.
I'm not, and I won't. Okay, carry on.
So part of boot camp is it's bringing transitioning members and veterans together and there's 20 of them in each cohort, and we bring them to the University of Regina. They come from all over Canada. We put them in a classroom, and the University of Regina business school faculty and the Regina business community all sort of plays a part in helping them move their businesses forward over sort of a period of 7 days. During the day, boot camp is, it's in classroom stuff. It's the fundamentals of finance, accounting, social media, business planning. But then there's the evening, there's the networking parts in the evening. There's the going to visit, local entrepreneurs. It's like networking opportunities like we have in person there, and, Q&A sessions with experts. And it's really, it's a community building thing. It's a cohort building for the veterans themselves, but it's also sort of building this ecosystem around them. And that's really what boot camp is all about. It's building an entrepreneurial support ecosystem of which, people like you are important members.
And people have to really understand that a lot of these folks, these men and women that show up, they may have injury, either physical or psychological from their time in the service. And the larger question, I think, and any of us who work with the military understand that it's really hard to transition out of the military, particularly if you went in young. Somebody's been running your life for 20 or 30 years.
Mm-hmm. And I think that comes with, an obvious set of assumptions. And I think everybody can appreciate how difficult it is to change careers. Mm-hmm. And everybody's had little transitions, in their lives themselves. But if you think about of your whole life being left behind, and I think it actually has more in common with like an Olympic athlete than anything else, because they have dedicated their whole life singularly focused on learning one particular skill so incredibly well. and then when for some, whether voluntarily or through medical reasons, they can no longer do what they've been trained to do, in an Olympic athlete capacity. What do they do? And as we think about Olympic athletes, we think, wow, what, they are so, they've got so many skills, they're so determined, they're so disciplined, right? Okay, so the interesting difference between, this is where sort of the metaphor diverges, because with Olympic athletes, you are focused on you, and doing your best for you, but in the military, you're hyper focused on, you are actually the last person you pay attention to.
Exactly.
It is, it's men, mission, self. It's your peer, it's the mission, it's your peers around you, and then you look after yourself. So you have sort of the intensity and the caliber of training and the life experience of an Olympic athlete, but you have never once put yourself first. Putting yourself first is not something that is it's not really part of the military culture.
No, and not in a life of service. It isn't.
Not in a life of service. And so then you add all of that sort of complexity. And then when you transition out, you kind of leave your family behind. You leave everything behind. You leave all of that, and you start anew. And it's not like you're and for those people who were injured, they kind of have another layer of challenge, and a lot of those injuries are invisible. Not everybody has PTSD, but everybody certainly does have a challenge, transitioning, and I think and everybody really does need to find a new community afterwards, and so that's.
No, I was just going to say, on the other side of the coin that's so important when you bring in the university people, but particularly the business people, is educating this world, the outside world, about the skill sets that military men and women have. They are diverse. These are not just people who take guns and shoot at bad guys. Like, they run massive operations with big budgets, logistical nightmares in foreign countries. I remember watching all this in Afghanistan. It's breathtaking to see what they can and do.
And in some few cases, that if they don't do their job well, then people don't come home. Right. So there's an awful lot riding on it, an awful lot. And so if you think about, the dollar value and the amount of training that they've had, the amount of responsibility that they've had, and the structure that they've had to work within, it's quite astounding. And also the as I said, the not putting yourself first, that comes with sort of a humbleness that they bring out of the military. So they're not going to want to talk, about, that side of their career, and, sometimes they don't think people would be interested, but it's just also not their way. So they have all of these skills and all of these experiences and all of these, learnings and opportunities, but then then they don't talk about it. And how does the civilian person ask about that and engage in that way?
So that's the thing about this. It really is to see whether people can find an entrepreneurial answer, because sometimes just going into the civilian world in an employee role is not going to use their skill set, but it is also frightening and intimidating from the other side, from the soldier side, from the armed forces member. So this is a way to kind of say, maybe you've got a business idea that you can start yourself using some of that skills. Give us some flavor of what kind of businesses you see come out the other end of boot camp week.
For sure. So we have, businesses that are similar to what they did in the military. So security, and finance, and and those kinds of logistical things, like those are similar, so they can go into business consultancy in that way, and then you have ones that are sort of like it but a little bit different. Fitness, right. A lot, and the prioritization of fitness in the military, and then they come out and they're going, what, I could really contribute, and open gyms, yoga studios, health, like all of those types of things that are related to the culture in the military. Maybe not what they did, because fitness was a part of all of it. And then you have the ones on the other side that are nothing to do with what they did. Some of them are hobbies. They're like construction, like or cabinetry. That's a common one. B&Bs. And then you also have ones that, that they think that they can do a better job, like the Hero Dog Treats. He can, he didn't like what he was seeing out in the market, and he said, you know what, we can do a better, made in Canada, a better quality dog treat. So that's something totally different. But what one of these all have in common is that they all have this continuing to serve element to what they are. Like, and it's unbelievable how they all are saying, how can I continue to give? How can I continue to engage or give back to a community? Because that's what drew them. Maybe those are the type of people who get drawn into the military and are attracted to that service ethos. And then when they come out, they do continue to serve.
It's really quite extraordinary, because that is to a person. I mean, when you sit there and listen, one of the elements of this boot camp week is something that we call speed dating, where the people that are involved, the entrepreneurs, the budding entrepreneurs, have to make their so-called elevator pitches in front of a group of people from the business community, or people like me from the political, the Senate community. And it's just amazing to hear it, because that is the core of everything that they do. It comes back. It doesn't matter whether it's wilderness training or hunting lodges or making chocolate chip cookies. That's what it's about. They do want to give back. And it's something that I think, as I was saying at the beginning, we particularly want to reward, maybe this year, above all else, that we could really reach out and support these local businesses.
Mm-hmm. And they can and make a choice to find out, or every business has been hit hard by the pandemic, and and I know we're talking about veterans here, but the whole small business community has been hit incredibly hard, and I think all Canadians are looking forward to sort of how can they be part of a solution to the small business that drives our economy. And I think people are intentionally making small business choices. So and even so within small business choices, you can choose to target and maybe buy one present from a veteran owned business, and then maybe buy one present from a different own business, and a business that has a story behind it. You are making a difference in the life of that family, and I think it's kind of fun when you give a gift, you kind of give a story as well. So and all the veteran owned businesses that are in BuyVeteran.ca, which is the business directory that we host, and it has hundreds of businesses. It needs more from Saskatchewan, and every time I'm on, I'm in Saskatchewan promoting this, I'm always saying, hey, does anybody know veteran-owned businesses? We need more listed from Saskatchewan, because I know there are more veteran-owned businesses out there. I know there are.
Okay,
we have to just get them listed.
That's a pitch and a challenge. I will try and take that on too. So BuyVeterans.ca. So you've got, I mean, I think there's more than 400 on there, isn't there?
There's over almost, I think there's 600 now.
Wow.
There's 600. Yeah.
And so right across the country. Right
across the country. And so they're sorted by province, industry sector, and also like e-businesses, national. So you can go on it, and then there's a mapping function, and you can do a search, and you can kind of just zoom right in to see where those businesses are located, and in what region, and then you can see if there's something there that you like, or you could just reach out to them and just say, hey, thank you for your service. I don't think Canadian veterans hear that enough, and I think America is much better at that.
Yeah.
And then the citizens thanking it being part of their culture, and I think we could do a better job at that.
Yeah, it's one of my hobby horses, I gotta say, because having lived in the States and lived here, you see the difference. No veteran walks down the street in the US without someone saying thank you, stopping, having a picture taken with their child, buying them coffee, whatever it is. And because our bases are so separate from our big cities or even our small towns, we don't see them. We don't see veterans walking around in their uniforms, or serving members in the same numbers, and we don't have that relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't. And also, I do know that veteran-owned businesses are a big part of small town and small community. Maintaining revitalization, growth, because they don't settle in large centers, because if you've been living on bases your whole life, like there's no way you could get into a large housing market like Toronto,
Yeah.
or
Couldn't afford it.
because
No.
it's just not something. And then so they go and they go back to where they came from, and or in that sort of in that community, and that's where they start small businesses. So if you go on the directory, you'll sort of see this concentration, like just hovering around Edmonton, and certainly in the corridor between Ottawa and Hamilton, but
Right.
there's so few in Toronto, and it's just because they tend
or
to
Vancouver.
to go,
I mean, you just don't see it because there are not bases
so
there.
I should correct this conversation, is that when we say we don't see them, I think we're talking about we live in Toronto and Ottawa, and and walking down the street. But I think Canadians who are listening to this, they might be living in centers where they see them more often.
Yes, I'm hoping that's the case. Now, this program that you do with the U of R, you also do with a couple of other universities.
Yep, Université Laval, and then Memorial University, and also Dalhousie.
So these programs are replicated there.
Yeah, they're replicated in essence. They're structured very similarly, but they all take on a community aspect based on what it is. Like the University Laval has they have a sustainable business canvas that they structure everything through. So they've got the sustainability lens, which is what they put everything through. Right. And then Memorial has a huge student involvement, and then Dalhousie has a large community involvement as well. And so it's they all have very different flavors, but the essence is that why I often talk about, people ask me, why is boot camp so successful? Why does it work? And there's 4 reasons. We create a cohort. We bring people who've served together, they learn together, and we create that cohort feel. And then we also allow them to that cohort feel creates the second thing, which is a sense of security and ability to question yourself. So you're really only going to question your kernel of an idea that you haven't shared with anybody else but your mother, your girlfriend, and your brother and your dog. You're allowed to be vulnerable and share that idea, and then get feedback on it. And then, so it's that ability to, take a risk and share, and maybe even be critical of your idea, because an awful lot of businesses come into boot camp one end and then they come out the other end,
very
more
different.
Viable, but looking very different, but more viable. And the third thing is, the instruction is excellent. Regina, like, oh my gosh, the faculty there is phenomenal, and the business community is phenomenal. And then the fourth element is the volunteer aspect of it, which is people like you coming out, the business communities coming around, all of people who have been through our program before coming around, our sponsors coming around and making time for it. So it's that volunteer aspect, because we couldn't pay people like you enough to go it. We couldn't pay the organizing team at Regina.
No,
we couldn't pay them enough to do it, because it's an opportunity of passion of them to give back. And so those 4 things. I was just
going to say the other part of this that is seeing this group called Enactus, which operates on the University of Regina campus. These are young students who may have no connection to the military, who are interested in giving back, who spend a good chunk of their summer dealing with the participants in this boot camp, getting them ready, sending it back and forth, working with them there. They are an extraordinary group of young people.
They are. So they are part of that fourth sort of leg of this chair that is so amazing, is that they this is a project that they take on, and they create, and they do all the logistical stuff. They put together hundreds of of binder inserts, and then they collate all the information. They organize the speakers, they organize all the meals, the logistics. They do everything, and then they welcome them to the University of Regina, and they say, here, we are here to help you. Like, you could set down all your worries and all your baggage, and then we're just here to help you, put you in the frame of mind that you can move your business forward. And they look after everything. And, they do research for them, and it's great.
And you watch, too, when the veterans, the former service members come together, and you say they don't know each other. Like, this is a random group of people who are selected from across the country to come together. But there is a fundamental trust, because they know who they're talking to.
Exactly.
It's
their
family.
community. It doesn't, it's an instant connection, and and you can't get that anywhere else. And it's that, and it's interesting because some of the stories throughout the years that things have happened is that, there are people who could not have applied to boot camp or even attended boot camp because they were so angry, and they were they were not happy with how their military career ended. They were not happy with what happened. They were just they were damaged, injured, and just maybe it took a big toll on their family.
Mm-hmm.
And their relationships. And so looking back upon their military career and being around military people has not been a positive experience for them at all. That's 20 years of their life that they don't have a positive association with. So what boot camp has done, and I've heard this time and time again, is it's allowed them to reconnect with their military past and their military community again, and create a positive way forward for them to look upon their past and look upon their military and their contribution in a positive way, and that's healing for them.
I actually saw that happen too, Kathleen. I actually watched it happen in people over the course of the week who, as you say, came angry and then found some process of forgiveness and perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is like, it's those, it's those little things that happen when you bring people together in a safe, really honest, authentic way. And and why the program is so unique is that it really does need all of these different elements, and people have to arrive. Like the only people who do not benefit from boot camp is people who are not open their mind to possibly change their ideas. Mm-hmm. And but there's something for everybody in that week, and that's because wherever you come, wherever you are in your journey, there's someone that's able to meet you where you are and have an authentic conversation and listen and it's just wonderful. And the veterans and the transitioning members, they go, hey, you mean the Canadians are actually interested in helping us? You mean, why me? Like, why us? Like, why is everybody here? Why is the lieutenant governor? Why are we at Government House having our, having the graduation ceremony?
Dinner at a graduation.
The swanky graduation ceremony, like why is the vice regal community across Canada, which they are, thank you very much, really involved in this program? And that kind of, like, wow, people are interested in helping. And I think that's what Prince's Trust Canada does, is that we really do provide a vehicle for people to help populations, vulnerable populations, whether that be veterans, young people who are looking for work. And we just provide that bridge, that opportunity, that translator. And I think that really is the role of an organization, like a charity, like a third party that has a foot in a whole bunch of different worlds, and yet we kind of hover above everything. We sit lightly, hover, and really are able to take people over to wherever they need to go. And so, being the hub of this ecosystem that we're creating.
Well, and the thing for those of us who participate in whatever way we can, I've got to tell you, it's one of the most fulfilling, rewarding things that you do, because we all come with experiences. We've all had business failures and business successes, and career failures and career successes. And it gives some meaning to our life as well when we share those stories with people who are kind of at the front end of that very rocky road into the future. Nobody knows what it'll bring. And to connect with somebody on that level and say, look, I've been there, I've done that, don't give up. It's really worth it. It makes, you always get back more than you give, for sure, I think.
Yeah, thank you. That is absolutely, without a doubt, true.
Yeah. So tell everybody again now what they can do, because people who may not be aware of this program could also connect through this website to say, hey, look, I'd like to get involved. I'd like to help. I'd like to be a mentor, whatever.
Okay, mentoring, perfect. So that is a really great way of an experienced entrepreneur, business professional, someone who has a unique skill to give, can get involved. Now we have evolved our mentoring to, we kind of have a whole bunch of different opportunities for you to mentor. We have a structured 6-month mentoring program, which is excellent, and that is a guided, managed program that will pair you. Your unique skills with the unique skills of a veteran, and then, come together for 6 months. And then there are, there's a workbook that you work through. There are worksheets. It's very focused. It's, it's setting goals. It's all of that, looking at moving your businesses forward. And so we've had a huge amount of, feedback, that's a great way for people to get involved is becoming a mentor. You could also become one of our speed mentors, which is a brand new thing, which you took which is what you took advantage of, which is the speed networking thing, which we're doing, which is for veteran entrepreneurs who do not have an opportunity, who are not able to engage sort of in the 6-month thing, right. Is that they can participate in our speed networking events. And that is sort of this rapid speed dating. We do it on Zoom in breakout rooms where everybody comes together in a main room, and then everybody, goes off into individual rooms for 10 minutes, and they have these intensive 10-minute conversations. And so and then, you come back, and then you go with another person. And so for anybody who's looking to get involved with Princess Trust in a way, then you could register to be a speed networking expert. That would be super great.
Yeah. And then it's from fun. There, it's really fun.
It's crazy.
Exactly.
So and then you could do that, and you can buy Veteran, and you can encourage other people to buy Veteran. And if you've come across a veteran-owned business, say, hey, do you know about BuyVeteran.ca? Because really, BuyVeteran.ca is more than a business directory. It's like, it's sort of the Buy Veteran movement in Canada.
Right.
It is, it's for, and it's also for the veterans as much as it is for civilians. So they can see all the diverse businesses. They can reach out and say, hey, you know what? I think I want to be a photographer. Right. I'm looking at doing that. And then they go onto the directory, and then they see some photographers, and then they
talk to them.
And they talk to them. So Absolutely. There's lots of different options of why getting, pulling a community of people together and the benefits of that. Anyway, there's just so much going on.
Yep. And
that if somebody wants to get involved, we bring it on.
Yep, bring it on, and check the website. I want to say, Kathleen, to you, because I know how hard you work in the group, and she has been recognized for this, the 2018 recipient of the Veterans Ombudsman Commendation for a National Organization. She's a recipient of the Treble Victor Group 2019 Commendation for Exemplary Service in Support of Veterans. I'm sure there are more, but it's just nice to see that getting recognized, and the work that you put in.
Well, we couldn't do it without our huge network, and we couldn't do it without you, couldn't do it without our huge network and the support that we get. I think we have a really winning formula.
Yeah,
and I think sure. that is really, and it's run on goodwill, positivity, and contribution and collaboration. So, all that stuff, so important.
We'll try and get that Saskatchewan component bigger, larger.
Up,
okay,
exactly,
up.
Exactly.
All right. Well, all the best to you. We're all going to try and have the merriest Christmas we can under the circumstances. And this is one way to make someone who served their country feel better, and make yourself feel better for doing it. Kathleen, thanks again for being
Thank you, Senator. And we'll see you again next year.
Yes, for sure. And remember, everybody, that we live in the home of the free because of the brave. We need to thank them every day. Bye-bye.